Wednesday, June the 7th. Lake level's just under 926. It's like 925, 98. It actually, in the last 24 hours, hasn't come down at all. They've been generating a lot of water, but they must be letting some water out of beaver because it kind of stayed the same. But it's come down probably almost 2 foot since fishing report last week. Water temperature, it's starting out about 74, 75 degrees in the morning, and I'm seeing quite a little bit of 80-degree water. The bite's still good. The lake seems like, the color's pretty much the same pretty much throughout the lake. It's definitely a little clearer from Kimberling City down to the dam. I spent a day in the upper White River, I think Monday. Then I've been in the James River the last few days. But there's a lot of suspended fish biting. A lot of Kentuckys, and they seem to be suspending, and they're kind of mixed. There's some largemouths and some smallmouths in with them, but more spotted bass than anything. And they're probably 10 to 12 feet deep. A lot of them are on, main lake points where the current's coming across them, or like if you can fish an area between an island and a bank where the water's kind of choked down. They'll be right by a drop off, or right as it comes close to the points, and it's without a doubt it's best early. Now a lot of them we're catching on swim baits, but it seems like the last week or maybe week and a half, the bigger swim baits have been working a little bit better. I've been throwing anywhere from a 3.5 up to a 4.5 inch swim bait. This Strike King Sexy Shad whites seem to be working real well versus the shad color. Here's another one here that's been working real well. And I've been throwing them on different heads, but I'm usually throwing them on a 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce head. This one's got a ball head jig, but you can also use a regular swim bait head. And just been kind of casting the bait out there, keeping an eye on the electronics to see how deep the fish are. Normally, whenever you catch one, you're going to catch several in the same area. And it seems like when that slows down a little bit, you can back out and catch them on a drop shot. And they haven't been very deep on a drop shot, anywhere from 18 to 22 feet. Been catching them on any kind of little 4-inch drop shot worm. The one that's been working best for me is a White River Lures. I've been throwing a plum, but like a Zoom 4-inch finesse worm will work good. Green pumpkin, watermelon candy, chompers, that brown purple laminated will work well. And also something that looks like a bait fish, almost like a shad, like a cotton candy one will work good too. I've got some pink ones that White River Lure makes for me that's been working well. Now, I'm still catching some of my better fish. Each day we're probably catching 1 or 2 pretty decent fish, 3.5 to 4.5 pound range, but just not getting that many good bites on the spinnerbait. Now, I'm still throwing the same spinnerbait that I talked about the last couple of weeks, the War Eagle, so either 3/8 or 1/2 ounce. And I'm fishing these kind of on the same points where I'm trying to catch these Kentuckys. But I'm catching these ones in behind the bushes, in around the buckbrush, over the top of it. Seemed like the best deal is set the boat in about 10 to 15 foot of water, throwing in. Flatter the point, the better. It's been working for me. And we've also been able to catch a few fish on Topwater. Still haven't got a real good topwater bite, but there's been a few fish chasing, especially in the morning. But we seem like even when the fish come up chasing shad, we still seem like we're catching them better on a swim bait than we are topwater. But you can also throw a topwater in the same place I'm throwing the spinnerbait. And I've talked to several guys that have also been catching them on a frog throughout the day. Like Booyah makes one called a pad crusher. Spro makes a real good one. But either probably a brown or white. And they're fishing in around the bushes in the morning, and then as the sun gets up, they're just keying on the shade, under the trees, under the willows, and that type of stuff. And I think like a Zoom horny toad rigged weightless will work as well. What's good about the frog is the horny toad, you've got to keep it moving. That frog, if you stop reeling it, it sinks. The frog, you can kind of let set. You can work it like a spook or a popper. The pad crushers, got a little deal on the front of it where it works, spits water like a pawpaw, and the spro works real well side to side like a walking bait. And another deal we've been catching some of those suspended fish on as well have been flutter spoons. This is a Dixie Jet. I've been throwing a 1/2 ounce Dixie Jet, and I've also been throwing a 4.5 inch Strike King, just a big chrome spoon. And I'm throwing these out, giving them about a 5 to 6 count, and just kind of twitching it, reel it a little bit, twitch it, and especially when you get into where there's a group of them, like I say, normally if you keep an eye on your electronics, you'll see them. They're 10 to 12 feet down suspended. If you end up on top of them, just back off a little bit and cast your spoon or your swim bait through them. Now my bottom bite hasn't been real good. I've been catching some fish on a football jig. When we were up in the Upper White the other day, we got to a pretty good group of Kentuckies out there on a hump that was about 10 to 12 feet deep, and it was rolled off into about 25 to 30. Now I've been up in the James fishing a lot of what we call the roll-off points and the little ledges, but the majority of the fish we've been able to catch up there, like I say again, have been suspended. I have not got a real strong jig bite going. You catch a few on a deep diving crankbait, like on a Strike King 6XD, fat-free shad. Those are in the same area where you catch them on a swim bait. The crankbait doesn't have to be bouncing off bottom because a lot of those fish are suspended. And we have been catching some on that deep crankbait, setting the boat, or where we've been casting it to about 30 feet, but where the top of some bushes and stuff come up to about 12 feet, just running that crankbait through the top of it. You will get them stuck quite a bit, and you will lose a few, but there are some fish that you can catch on deep crankbait as well. But I look for that bottom bite to start getting a little bit better. And one thing where they're moving so much water, I don't expect the drop shot fish and even like the Carolina rig bite and the jig bite to get real deep, because the thermocline, with the amount of water flow that's going through the lake, should, when it sets up, it shouldn't set up real deep. So with as high as the water is throughout the summer, I think we're going to have good water flow, good staying, which should keep the fish shallower than normal. Been a lot of pressure up in the James River. I fished up there the last 2 days, and it seems like every point's got at least 1 or 2 boats on it. The best part of the James has been probably from the mouth of the James up to about Camper's Point. It's been working well for me. When we were up at Shell Knob the other day, from about Campbell Point up to Big M, that whole area was pretty good. And you're not going to catch fish on every point that you go to. We're still having to work for them, but when you find a point that's got fish on it, you'll catch several. And a lot of times it's just not a morning bite. You just got to keep hunting and pecking away. But the other day we didn't even go out till 1 o'clock, and a couple of the first couple areas we stopped on, we had probably 15, 18 fish on the first point. Then it kind of got slow for us, and we had to work for them after that. But still a lot of fish to be caught. The weather's been absolutely gorgeous out there, nice and cool in the mornings. Boat traffic hasn't been too bad yet. Might get a little busier this weekend. But till next week, good luck, good fishing.